watching Inside Utah Politics.
Time now for a closer look at some of the big stories of the week with the Inside Utah Politics panel. This week we have State Representative Rosemary Lesser and State Auditor John Dougal. Great to have both of you here. Thanks so much for spending some of your time with us.
Great to join you.
Great to be with you.
All right, let's get right into the obvious big story of the week, and that is the Commander-in-Chief, President Joe Biden, in Utah during the week on Thursday, hosting an event up at the VA Medical Center in Salt Lake City with a pretty significant announcement on the PACT Act. We'll get into that and some other elements of his visit. Representative, let's start with you. You were at that event. Talk about the atmosphere and what you witnessed there.
Oh, it was a really enthusiastic group of people who just wanted to hear the president speak. We were first welcomed by Mayor Mendenhall, followed by Governor Cox, and it was great to have both of those leaders in our community speak to us about the importance of our region supporting veterans. And as a veteran myself, this really spoke to me, and I enjoyed hearing President Biden's commitment to veterans via this PACT Act.
We saw the president make some controversial moves on this tour, but here he decided to focus on veterans, a bipartisan effort. John, talk about that, and was that a good move on his part?
Well, clearly it's a bipartisan move from his perspective, trying to show that he's bipartisan. But at the end of the day, what does it really show? It shows that, first, the military didn't treat these veterans well when they were in the battlefield, putting them at risk and harm and hazard. And two, with a bill that instead of appropriate congressional oversight, shifted funding over into, quote unquote, the mandatory side, put it on autopilot. And so while it appears to be bipartisan, it really wasn't.
Representative, your response to that?
Well, I think it's interesting that Auditor Dougal has gone into the details of how the money is managed for the PACT Act. One of the things that the president spoke about in his presentation on Thursday was how this was designed to rapidly fast-track injuries that had occurred. Now, the fact is that the recognition of the danger of these burn pits certainly is something that, in retrospect, should have been recognized sooner, but the president said very solemnly that it is our sacred duty to correct the wrong, and he acknowledged that. So I thought that that was a very smart move.
And I do want to take time to say also that he extended the deadline. It was earlier last week, but he extended it to tomorrow, Monday, for any veterans who are eligible for those benefits as well. An important point there for anyone at home who may be needing that. John, when the president comes to town, of course, we saw the governor out at the airport to greet him, and we saw the Salt Lake City mayor and the Salt Lake County mayor. But this is something that the governor said later, look, even though we don't see eye to eye politically, we welcome you here to our state and hope you have a good time here. Talk about the significance of the President of the United States coming to the state of Utah. It's not new. We've seen several of the most recent presidents come here as well, but just talk about the idea and the significance of the president coming here.
Well, I think that's one of those things. You need to have respect and for the office of the president. You want to welcome folks, regardless of who they are and what they believe, to Utah to see the hospitality we have here. And you can do that even though you significantly disagree with the policy agenda of any given president.
Representative, your thoughts on that? We saw President Trump here, we saw President Obama here, and on and on. It's a part where politics kind of goes out the door a little bit when we have a visit like that.
It really should go out the door. And in fact, I think that we need to remember that we are Americans first. And the president, no matter which political party, is our commander-in-chief and the leader. We really, in my mind, need to be cheering for the success of our country, no matter who is at the helm. And in this case, I am delighted to see our governor welcome the president with such warmth.
Okay, one of the things the governor spoke out about that the president did on this three-state Western tour is that designation of a Grand Canyon National Monument outside of Grand Canyon National Park. That had Republican leaders in our state, John, speaking out against the president. Talk about that move and how you assess it.
Oh, I think it's a totally irresponsible move. First of all, I tell folks, whoever controls the land controls the economy, and right there the president said he wants the federal government to control the land and the economy in Arizona. Second thing is, you look at those dynamics. This is not an emergency. This is something that really should go in front of Congress for them to determine whether that type of national monument should take place. It shouldn't be at the hands of the whims of one individual, regardless of what their political party or agenda happens to be. And the third thing you get into, we want energy independence. You want a strong economy. You want clean air and reduced greenhouse gases. And this kind of goes in the opposite direction, tying up uranium mining and other things like that, and continues to make us overly dependent on Russia.
Representative, your thoughts on that new designation of a national monument?
Well, the one thing that we have to remember is, first of all, the authority to designate a national monument was established by Republican Teddy Roosevelt in 1906, and 11 of the last 15 presidents have used their power, which was given to them by Congress, to designate this land. Now, this was federal land all along, and the president designated this as a monument, and there was a lot of requests from the tribal nations, including the tribes from both Arizona and Utah, to support this. When it comes to uranium, I want to make a point that although certainly I appreciate the need for both rare earth minerals and uranium, we have to remember that there's been a moratorium on uranium mining for the last more than 10 years. So it's not as if this is undergoing. And furthermore, that area represents a very, very small fraction of the uranium stores that are available in the United States and around the world. So I don't think that we are taking a step backwards in energy independence by foregoing this, and also not putting the Colorado Rivershed watershed at risk by possible contamination from uranium mining.
Okay, let's get into the second congressional special election. We are coming down the wire here with the primary election. We had Representative Chris Stewart on the show earlier talking about his decision to resign and taking a look back at his career. But we have a three-person race here, some interesting dynamics playing out. Celeste Malloy, the convention winner, and Bruce Huff, who got on the ballot by signatures, are going around and participating in 10 debates. Becky Edwards, who also got on by signatures, has declined to do that, referring to it by saying she's not going to participate in Malloy's campaign events. John, how do you assess that move and this race as we come down the stretch?
Well, one, I think it's smart for Celeste. This is a way to get some free attention and to show her expertise when it comes to these type of policies. I think she'll do well with those debates. And you talk about 10, those are scattered all throughout the different parts of the district, especially in the rural parts of the state, which shows attention to those residents and those voters. For Becky, I think it shows a weakness there. I get that she doesn't want to do 10 debates, but not even doing a debate in your own backyard of Davis County, when you want to say you're going to be strong and stand up to Utah, I think shows some weakness. It's interesting, Bruce is out there clearly doing these debates. He wants to get FaceTime and other things like that. So I think it's good for the process, and so we'll have to see what shakes out.
Representative, as you're watching this play out on the Republican side, your thoughts?
Well, you know, the thing about it is we have to remember that former Representative Edwards has won at least 10 times for her seat in the Utah House of Representatives. So she knows how to run a campaign. And my suspicion is that she is going around doing what she does so well, as she did with her Yellow Couch tour, is meeting the people one by one in groups for meet and greets and things like that. So I defer to her. She's the only one who has been elected to public office, and I think that she knows how to do it right.
John, should we look at this at all as far as Celeste, you know, making this announcement saying, hey, they're both on board, we're going to do this, and all of a sudden the Edwards campaign says, wait a minute, we did not commit to this?
Yeah, I don't know what discussions took place or other things like that. I know early on, I think Celeste was proposing 13, and so it seemed like there was some compromise in there. So I can't speak to what took place. I do know when I travel the state, especially in rural Utah, they don't want to be forgotten. They don't want to be flyover counties, if you will. And so to be out there to meet with the residents, to talk about their concerns and the issues that are important to them is critical within this district.
Representative Senator Kathleen Reeby, Democratic Senator Kathleen, did we just get a wrap? Okay, I'm sorry. We're going to have to, I just got a wrap from my producer, so I thought we had more time, but we're going to have to go ahead and end it on that note. Really appreciate your insight. Thanks so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with more Inside Utah Politics right after the break.